So, everyone, the big news is we're pregnant.
And the other big news is I'm upgrading the brakes on my Mustang.
If you really love cars, Auto One.
Hey, g'day everyone, it's Nick from the Talk and Power podcast. Episode 99 is here. Look, this is a really special episode. It's close to a number of people right across Australia and right across the world who have all suffered the effects of cancer. It's the story of Andy Kahle. She's a drag racer and her husband Mick. They come into the studio. She's also the author of this great book, Don't Wait for the Green Light. I urge you to go out and get that book from her website, therapyonwheels.asn.au, and get that and have a read. It will touch your heart, to say the least. We also have on the episode Warren Sander. Warren is the husband of Terri Sander. She passed away a few years ago now, and Andy's new creation, Mama's Toy, the Mercedes Benz with the Hellcat, that build was inspired by Terri's drag car in Super Street. It's a Rover. And look, we also catch up with Warren, and he tells us of his story and his journey with his wife Terri as well. So this is a really great episode. I urge everyone to tune in and have a listen to this one. And for two listeners, you'll have the opportunity to win this gift pack, kindly donated by Andy. So heaps of stickers, also a copy of the book, Don't Wait for the Green Light, and thanks to her magnificent sponsor, Bowden Zone. You also go in the running to win this as well, car care pack as well from Bowden Zone. So thanks to those guys there. Thanks for tuning in. It's a great episode, and we thank them for coming on. Guess what, guys? Summer is almost here, and the team at Auto One has released their Summer Savings Start Here catalogue.
It's my favourite time of the year, summer. Drag racing, taking the jixer out and about, and cruising the beach buggy down the coast. I'll need to service the bikes and cars.
Well, that's great, Simon. There's 50% off Nylon Cool Synthetic 1040 Motor Oil and 20% off selected Impact Coolant.
Well, I was thinking of getting away, and I see there's 20% off Rhino Rack combo when you buy the Rhino bag and the basket together.
Oh, who has time for getting away? I'm going to freshen up some of the workshop with a new range of Impact Workshop automotive equipment.
Well, before you guys go streaming into the shop, be sure to sign up for the Auto One Club membership. You can do that at www.auto1.com.au.
Sorry, Todd, I was fixated on the 15-litre portable fridge and freezer. Do you know how many Italian sausages I could fit in that when I'm out and about on the road?
Well, Nick, speaking of road trips on that one then, and taking Italian sausages with you, I also noted that the AM radio in the XW isn't quite legit. The Nomad 3 Trek Bluetooth speaker would make the great Christmas present from Linda to you. I hope she's listening.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.
Okay, welcome to episode 99 of the Talk and Power podcast. I'm Nick DiCembra, joined by my co-host Simon Travaglini, and I've got some really special guests in the studio tonight. We've had a lot of people asking us to get this episode underway. So I'm joined by Andy Kahle.
Hi, everyone.
Her husband, Mick.
Thanks for having us.
And on Zoom, we are joined by Warren Sander. Warren, thanks for joining us.
No problem. And anything for a good cause.
That's it. Now, that's what we like to say as well. And look, we really appreciate all of us getting together. We really appreciate you making the time to come on here as well. So this is a really important podcast. And, we've all been following Andy's journey and Mick's journey as well. And then she brought to my light to your journey as well, and your late wife Terri as well. So we thought we'd all get together and have a chat, and it's very important. So look, once again, thanks for joining us. Andy, let me introduce yourself first to our listeners that might not be familiar with you. A lot of people know you as maybe you're a graphic designer. You're responsible for the Talk and Power logo that you see right up there, actually. Second to that, you're a drag racer since 2011, Super Sedan. But I like to think of you as the author and breast cancer conqueror. Is something that I'll endear you to. So thanks for joining us and thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into drag racing.
Well, I met this guy next to me and he dragged me down to Ravenswood to watch his mate race a GT. And I probably didn't look back since. I was always a bit into the muscle cars, really like my muscle cars. But I used to go down to Ravenswood to watch the bikes. I used to ride a bike. It was my thing. And I said, one of these days I'm going to race a bike down at Ravenswood.
Yep.
Well, I've got in the way and, mortgages to pay and jobs to keep and all that sort of stuff. And we didn't get back to the racetrack for quite a while. Ran into a friend who said he wanted a little bit of promotion work done and some photography done down at the track. So lo and behold, we end up crewing for a team called Fat Boys Racing.
Wow.
And so we crewed for quite a few years. Until they decided to step out of racing for a while.
Yep.
And by that point, Mick and I decided that we were well and truly hooked. And so
Tell the truth. We weren't real and truly hooked.
Well,
you just plied me with alcohol that night and said, let's go do this.
So we thought, well, why don't we just go and buy our own car instead of crewing for other people and do it ourselves?
Yeah.
And Mick goes, well, who are we going to get to drive it? And I went, well, I'm going to drive it. So we had a chat to Simon and said, do you know of any good cars going? And he said, well, it's funny you should mention that. I got one sitting on the hoist.
I remember the ad perfectly well in Perth Street Car when Simon was writing for that magazine a while back.
Yes.
There was a photo of a Tirana and a big red machine on there which said, no, that's not my phone number. But yeah, the Tirana was within the ballpark.
Yeah, yep. So I guess, we'll jump ahead a little bit here, but tell us a little bit then, your latest project, Mama's Toy. Tell us how that came to be and your inspiration that you drew from Terri Sander.
So we decided it was time for a change of car. And thought that it might be a nice idea to build our own. A good project. One of the race officials and another racer came to me. His wife had just beaten breast cancer. And he said, wouldn't it be a really cool idea if we did something like the Beat the Heat guys and take some passages and actually show them that we're not a bunch of hoons, that we're all a really good supportive family and that we all look after each other and look out for each other. And, we should be able to share that.
Yep.
And he goes, so I'm going to leave that with you. And he just walked off.
Well, so the inspiration, Mama's Toy, we'll switch over to Warren here. Warren, tell us a little bit about Terri and her racing career. It started out of all things, a Bluebird wagon. Tell us how it morphed into the Rover.
Well, after the Bluebird wagon, we bought a HX Premier, and there was a 308. It eventually did run a 12 with the Chev in it, but we wanted a purpose-built car. So, the Rover, it was a light car, aerodynamic car, and we ended up having to put ladder bars in it. And in the end, it was a very good car. It was certainly consistent and predictable, and Terri did pretty damn well in it. So
I think pretty damn well is an understatement.
Well, yeah, 2010, she was the Australian Super Street champion. That's not easy. Can you tell us like that journey there? I mean, there was a number of gold Christmas trees, but the Australian Super Street champion as well. Tell us a little bit about that. That was 2010. Talk us through that year.
Look, she's won, a gold Christmas tree in Sydney, and when she got to the Winter Nationals that year, once she got to the quarterfinal, I think it was a runner-up because she had a bye in the semi-final. All she had to do was front for the final, and she was Australian champion.
Mm-hmm.
Look, and to be honest, I can't remember any of the races other than the semi-final, which was a solo, and the final. If you ask me who she ran in the other 3 or 4 rounds, I couldn't tell you. I can't remember. But I always used to give her instructions for a race. I would just tell her what was happening, and look, we knew the guy that she was up against at that Winter Nationals. It would have been nice to walk away with 2 gold Christmas trees, but one was good enough.
Yep.
I just told her, I said, look, trust the car.
Yeah.
And then she ended up breaking out, and it was a double breakout, and she lost that race by 1,000ths of a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're the sort of lights I want Andy to cut.
Well, Warren, look, tell us, one of the things that I didn't know, I was reading up about Terri. She was actually the first person in the world to go down a drag strip in the new millennium. That's an amazing achievement, and I didn't even know there was actually such a thing, to be honest. But anyway, can you talk us a bit through that? Because that wasn't just a gift, was it? It was, she had to really work for that. And
there was a street meet on New Year's Eve at Willowbank, and there was the 6 categories, 3 car categories, junior dragster, bikes, and powder puff. And then the winner of each bracket did a single pass, and it was closest to their dial-in was going to get to race, to go down the track after midnight. Terri won powder puff, and look, I can still remember I picked the dial-in of 11.96, and she ran 11.963.
Wow.
So she got to run down the drag strip at, 5 past midnight.
That's incredible. So while the rest of us were donning on suits and going out having cocktails and whatnot, you guys were at the track. That's an incredible record, and I must take my hat off to you. Like that's something that that your family can really. I mean, not only with an Australian championship, but also something that your family can hold on to. I think that's amazing. Warren, I just want to touch base. I mean, I read Terri's article she wrote in 2016 for the Girls Talk Motorsport. It's touching to say the least. But one of the parallels that Terri's journey with cancer that was paralleled in Andy's book, which we'll talk about shortly, was the strength that Terri drew from drag racing and the community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, look, when she won the Nationals, that was her first gold Christmas tree. It was in 2005, I think. That was the year after her first diagnosis of breast cancer. And I always used to joke with her that after she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she was always a better racer. I'm not sure whether she had better concentration or whether there was whatever she did after being diagnosed the first time was just a bonus.
Yeah.
And I think she just enjoyed it a lot more after that. And, I think a record speaks for itself, with just how well she did.
But Andy, can you tell us a little bit about that as well? I mean, you in your book, you talk about that as well. Like it's the strength and from being involved in, we are really, drag races it's a community. We are a very small community. When you look at the numbers, in population. We are a small community. You tell us a little bit about that, like the inspiration that you drew from the drag racing community.
Absolutely. It's like having a great big extended family. It's when you're feeling down or you're not feeling well enough or strong enough, you get that strength from the people around you. A simple smile or a pat on the back, or someone gives you a thumbs up or a wink. It's just enough that that regardless of what you're going through, whether it's breast cancer or whether it's something else, or whether you're just having a really bad day, that community is pretty strong and enough to build you up and give you a bit more oomph to keep going.
Yeah. I think you talked about it in one of the chapters. I think you went to watch, correct me if I'm wrong, Simon race. Was that correct?
Yes.
In the XY?
Yes, he was... I went down, or Mick wanted to go down and watch him do an 8 in the GT.
There was no Facebook back in those days, Andy, so that never happened. Never happened.
But yeah, I hadn't been out for a while. I was under some pretty strong treatment at that point. So but yeah, the moment that we drove through the gates and listening to the sounds, that the smells of the fumes and the smoke, and just seeing all the smiley faces as I walked around, it was good. I was really only there for a couple of hours, but it was amazing.
We kept the Tirana at the workshop. Andy would come while she was getting a treatment. It was a bit hard for me to watch at the time because, having lost my mum, my uncle, my cousin, and, what I went through with Marco and watching him come so close, and then come back basically from the dead twice. I could see her face light up every time she sat in that car. I was scared that she was going to die in the workshop at the time, but because trying to get in and out of a race car when, you've just had a big dose of radiation and chemo and everything else. A bit tricky, particularly when, you sort of withered away and everything else. But she did it, put a smile on her face. No one got hurt.
Good to have that goal. That's what it is, to have that goal, to have that focus, something to, just help you deal with what you're going through a little bit, I think.
Probably to take your mind off it a little bit.
Yeah.
So when Marco had the cancer, I kind of applied the same sort of theory. I'd go in there and talk to him about his car and what we were going to do once he got out of hospital. And, he went through a similar journey as Terri did, that they told him he would never use the right side of his body. He'd never had kids naturally and so on. And he just, fought his way through it. And, he does martial arts and had 2 beautiful daughters naturally, no IVF, anything like that. So I think that having that goal at the end of it, it must help,
Oh, absolutely. I was told at the beginning to put some photos in the front of my diary so that I'd have some inspiration. So when I had a bad day, I could have a look at the front of my diary. And the 2 photos was one of me doing a burnout in the driveway, and another one was of the car on track when Brenton owned it. And I would show that to every nurse and doctor and say, "This is why you are making me better."
It is amazing that the strength that you both, Terri and Andy, you were able to draw from drag racing, and I think I guess that you could say the same with a lot of sports, but I think drag racing in particular, we are a small community and we do band together. It's a very, very click community, and once you're in drag race, we accept all sorts. Once you're in drag racing, you kind of never leave, do you? Well, and I hear you're racing again now as well yourself.
I am. I do have a car that I play with. Yes, it's a lot slower than the Rover. It's only running 1230s at 109 or 110 mile an hour, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's still pretty decent. That's not bad. But yeah, like I said, I mean, we're a small community, and it's great that we all, we all stick together and we draw strength from each other. Andy, I want to talk a little bit. We mentioned the book. This is it here for everyone that's watching the podcast on YouTube. That's it there. Don't wait for the green light. Now, I've got to say, I've written this in the notes. My mum's going to be, when she listens to this, going to be very proud because I read this book in 4 sittings. Now, for me to read a book in 4 sittings, that's incredible. So, and I don't read a lot of books, but that was a really great book. I couldn't put it down. So, tell us how did this come to be? Were you writing this through the journey, or was this after the journey? Can you tell us?
I'm originally, now don't hold this against me for WA people, but I'm originally from Victoria. So most of my family is over in Victoria. So the best way to keep them up to date with my journey and what I was going through was I had a blog.
Okay.
And I would write everything on the blog, everything that I was up to, what I was doing, what treatments I was going through, what I was feeling, the whole lot. And the blog got passed around from person to person, and it reached outside the family. And there was a lot of people that started saying, "You've got to turn this into a book. You've got a unique way of writing." So I had a go, and I started to write it into a book, and they went, "Nah, no one's going to read this." And so I put it aside. And then a couple of years ago, I had a client who is a publisher, and she read what I'd written. And she said, "I'm going to give you a deadline." And it just happened to be my 10-year all clear anniversary. And she said, "I want to see the book in print before then."
Yeah.
She goes, that's your deadline. So I worked at finishing it, not thinking that it would come to anything or that anybody would read it or anything, but it's there.
Well, look, I've got to be honest with you. As I said to you before, I read the book only in 4 sittings. I couldn't put it down. It's a touching read. And I'll be honest with you, I shed a tear during reading this book, and I won't say which bit, but I did. I shed a tear there. Did you ever think when you were writing that you would leave such a mark on the reader? Not just me, I'm talking about anyone that reads that book.
No. I think my biggest thought was that when my niece is old enough that she might want to read it, and that's really the only thing that I had in my mind. I didn't think that anybody would buy it or that it would get out there so much that so many people would read it.
Yeah. And look, I mean, while it's touching and it has its moments, I must admit it's also quite a humorous read as well. Like getting blocked by the City to Serve and Mick's French waiter impersonations as well. The beauty about
we've got the video. Believe me, we've got the video. We did that live because a best mate of mine and his darling wife Sue were obviously up in Exmouth and couldn't be there for it, so we did what you call the old school live feed.
Yeah, the beauty about reading this book for me was like, I know you both, so you can picture you saying these things, and it was really it is a humorous read and very easy to read as well. I'm probably not the most literate sort of person, so I was able to read that quite easily. So that is a glowing endorsement. Mick, I want to talk a little bit about yourself here as well. The support you gave Andy really is unparalleled, I felt. Every parent would want to have a son just like you, to be honest. Did this take its toll on you as well?
I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't, because when someone's not well and you've got the treatment and it's to and from treatment, and as much as you're trying to keep their spirits as high as you possibly can, to keep them up, and you are sort of like having to have some pretty big shoulders. There's a lot of stuff that you would do, and one of the statistics that, going through when Andy was going through chemo, and you look at it, and a lot of marriages break up pretty much as soon as their partners get diagnosed with breast cancer or going through treatment, because it is quite a load. There's a lot of work to do, but it's with me, it just seemed like natural. I married her, I love her. We've been together for over 30 years now, so that just goes to show you how strong the bond is between the two of us. And I don't know, other people may say it or see it differently, but yeah, generally good European upbringing sometimes has its benefits as well.
No, I vouch for that.
It's family on top of family, my friend.
Warren, what about yourself? Like, the support you gave Terri? Like, tell us what sort of toll did that take on you and your family as well?
Look, I mean, and until you've been through it, you don't really know what it entails. Now, I can remember, and Andy might have been the same. Chemo is one thing, but radiation is another. And with the breast cancer, if you're having radiation 5 days a week for 6 weeks, by the time you get a couple of weeks into it, you're helping them out of the car after you get home. You're helping them into bed, and they're just not well. And you just got to be their nurse, for that time. And once they're on the chemo, women always are concerned about their appearance. Now, once the hair starts falling out, I consider myself lucky that I was probably the only male, other than probably the oncologist, that saw Terri with no hair.
Yep.
And once it started to fall out, I was lucky enough to be able to shave it off for her. And I had to do that twice.
Yeah.
Like we thought after 8 years, everything was okay, but it wasn't. And the second time was obviously worse than the first time.
Yeah.
And then as things went on, it just got worse and worse. So you just do your best and cope with it the best way you can.
Yep. It's amazing what both you gentlemen have been through. I'll be honest, as I said, when I read the book, I was really naive to a lot of this. And after reading the book, I certainly, have a new understanding and a new, I look at you guys differently, because this is not an easy gig. And anyway, I just want to change gears a little bit here, Warren. We'll stick with you. The Mini Field of Women, tell us a little bit about that. That was an event organised by yourself and Terri. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm quite interested in that. That was with the Breast Cancer Network of Australia as well.
It was. Terri started, I think, in 2006 was her first event. And she had an event every year until 2014.
Yep.
And then she didn't have any more after that. She wasn't well enough to do it. And after she passed away in January 2018, October being Breast Cancer Month, I've had 3 events now for Mini Field of Women. More than 3 events, because this year I only had the 1 event, but the previous 2 years I actually had 2 events. So I would have one at Willowbank Raceway, and I would have one with the Classic and Muscle Car Club.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
So this is the event where you put it's the pink silhouettes of
You have the 100 pink silhouettes. You have some merchandise from BCNA that you sell. You just look for donations, and we used to get things to have a raffle and giveaways and all that sort of stuff at Willowbank. And I can remember every year. You can set the pattern out for the 100 silhouettes whichever way you like, and over the years I've done different patterns, just from a square to try and do a heart.
Yep.
And probably the last couple of years I've always made a T in it somehow. Yeah, it just
Yeah, no, it is a great initiative, and the work you've done with Terri in the past, I think, is great. It's certainly great. Andy, just getting back to you here, the book. Just getting back to the book. The book ends, in my mind, it opens the door for part 2. Really, it's a new chapter, and it's where your drag racing career begins. The book ends with your drag racing career. That's a really powerful chapter, and it's not just because it's you've conquered the cancer. It's because it's your first event, basically. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's your first event,
first race meet. Yeah,
and you go all the way into the final.
Yeah, that was a bit of a fluke.
It doesn't,
but I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it was, good crew chief. You can personally.
So talk us through. That is a very powerful chapter. The way you've written that chapter, the closing, your description of the race itself in the car. Talk us through that final chapter, which is really now the beginning of your part 2, I call it.
So what I wanted in that last chapter was for people to actually be in the car with me and actually feel that level of nervousness, the sick feeling in the pit of the stomach, my mind racing and trying to remember all the different steps that I had to take, as well as all the excitement of finally getting there. And the knowledge that there were so many people standing behind me in that race lane, cheering me on, that had all been waiting for me to get to that point. I just wanted people to be on that ride with me.
Yeah. I think a lot of us were scratching our heads going, how did she get in the fight? I could be wrong, but...
maybe for Warren, just a bit of background information on Andy. Up until the Tirana, when she finally got to start doing some laps on that, she had never even driven a V8 car on the street, a sedan or anything. So she'd always had some bunky car that I'd fixed up, or a 250 motorbike or something like that. And then we went and put her in an 890 Tirana. So we can honestly say, yes, she is crazy or over trusting.
I didn't even know how to do a burnout. Simon said, "Oh, just do a burnout." I went, yeah. And he's going, okay, all right, I'm going to show you how to do a burnout. Right, all right. What have I done?
One of the interesting things I read, actually, wasn't in the book, but it was also, Mick, I think this is your quote here. I'm fabricating new pedal extensions and new levers because my wife is so much smaller than the previous driver. That's kind of like saying the bell tower is smaller than the Eiffel Tower. Those that know Brenton backstays. So
we couldn't shift the seat further forward. It had to be where it was. It had to be back against the cage. So, yeah, we started with blocks of wood.
We did shift it. We shifted it up and forward, but the tiller was in the way.
So, we started with blocks of wood and did some packing and moved the pedals as far back as we probably could get them, where the support would be and
we moved the accelerator pedal, and then you made stands to come off the brake pedal
and a foot hook for the accelerator pedal.
But that was my foot kept lifting.
Oh, okay.
Double stab. Yeah. One's going in the Merc very shortly.
I told you I can do that in a program.
So, Warren, we've talked about the Terri, then let's go back to the Mama's Toy. Let's talk about Mama's Toy, the Rover. Tell us a little bit about the Rover, and then once we'll move on to the Merc straight after that, the inspiration for the Merc.
Yeah. Well, when Terri was racing the HX, and we wanted to do a dedicated race car, we were just looking for a car out of the ordinary, and I liked the idea of the Rover because the bonnet was hinged at the front, so that there was no way that the bonnet could come up on it going down the strip.
Yep.
And look, it had a lot of things going for it. It had a strut front end and had a V8 in it, so there was plenty of room in the engine bay. I made it left-hand drive. Like I say, we put the ladder bar rear end in it. And with Terri in it, it was, I think, 2,860 pound.
Wow.
And it could have been, a lot lighter again,
Are you listening, Andy? Are you listening?
28.
28, not 38, 28.
Yeah. So, I mean, like it just seemed to work well.
Yeah, no, and so I mean, Andy, you've let's move over to then Mama's Toy, your version. So, how did you and Mick? How did you get together and then approach this man over here? How did that conversation go? Tell us what you had in mind. Did you have the CLK320 in mind? Was it Mercedes? I'm not sure.
Do you want to hear my version of this story?
Maybe it's probably closer to the truth.
It was going to be a BMW E46 with an LS. I don't know how we ended up.
No.
She just showed up with this Merc. I'm like, hang on, how did we?
It started out Friday afternoon, as you have them, or a Saturday afternoon, something like that, after a day out in the garden where it's nice and warm and you have a few quiet ones, and then you start thinking, and Andy's like, oh, we should get back into drag racing again and do something different. And I'm like, okay, not a problem. So here's my version of something different. It would be like, I'd hate to say this, but I think this program deserves it, a Camry or something like that.
Yes. Go the Camry.
Just something different that you don't see down the track all the time. And I said to Andy, just jump on a car sales or eBay or something and just find a shape that you like, something that tickles your fancy. And she was straight onto it. And then this black CLK came up for sale in Sorrento. It was going for about 7G. License, still another 3 months license on it. And I went, yeah, it's not a bad shape. I'm not real keen on the headlights on those things, but hey, it's different. It's different. When was the last time you saw a Mercedes running down the drag strip? There's not too many of them.
So Andy, tell us, that was you had the Mercedes in your mind then?
No. I went onto the cheap car section of Gumtree.
Yep.
And just started flicking through, and it jumped out at me, and I went, "Cool."
Yeah, but it wasn't a cheap car, really. I mean, yes. I mean,
as far as Mercedes goes, it's cheap. Though.
Yeah, but the quality still. I remember when you bought it. I do. I remember Mick driving it around. It was your daily. I remember you used to come to all fast with it.
Yeah, I drove it to and from work for 3 months while it still had rego, and believe it or not, I'd try to spank it and kill it a little bit, figuring that the running gear wasn't going to be there, and it held up all right.
Yeah.
The thing that they don't get is that it's an elegance, right? That is like, you know what I mean? Like the Fairmont gear.
The Fairmont gear, the Kahle.
And when I was cutting it up, I'd get Merc people coming in, because obviously we do torque converters for everything, and they go, you're cutting up an elegance. I don't know what it is, but it's Merc.
So, Simon, tell us then, what sort of challenges did you have with this car?
So the engine bay is this big, and the engine that we were putting in is this big.
But it almost looks factory these days.
Oh, look, I kept a lot of the structure of the car because you just don't know where these rules are going. It seems like, every 5 minutes someone dreams up some crazy sort of class. So I wanted to retain the original cross member, the original front rails, so to be legal for any of that kind of stuff, the original floor, So it was, legal for any classes that required that. So we basically did a quarter cut at the back. Where the trick was is even though the car looks, it looks like a big car, it's really, really small and it has very little front and rear overhang. So you haven't got a lot of places to mount things like, trans coolers and radiators. And the actual tunnel is quite low on it because it's an IRS car.
Yeah.
So I had, once she brought the car to me and I'd convinced her that this was built during the Daimler Chrysler era, we need to put a Chrysler Hemi in it. It has to have a Hemi. It just makes sense to me. They should have released it from factory with the Hellcat motor. That's how it should have come. So I kind of envisaged that I wanted to have something hanging out of the bonnet more to sort of go, hey, come and have a look at this.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is about awareness. It's about raising money. So you want a car that is going to attract people to it. When they get there, oh, okay, this is what it's about, breast cancer, so it opens up the discussion. So we did have to remove the firewall. We had to raise the tunnel. While I was doing all of that, I thought, well, you know what, we might as well double frame roll this thing so it's got some rigidity in it. And overall, I mean, look, I'm really happy with the way the car's turned out. It is a show quality car.
Yeah.
It would be at home in the top 10 tent at Summernats as much as it's at home in Super Street. The cutoff is 10.0. So once we knew the weight, we kind of made the call and said, look, this is where we're going to be. It's gone to 10.1. It's never been on the dyno. It's a bench tune up that's in the ECU that's in it. So the thing, it came together, and you've known me for a long time. And, I kind of try and make sure from the onset, we know where the finish line's going to be and we just get there.
Yeah.
Quite often with race cars, you'll waste a lot of time figuring out the car. It's hard enough figuring out how to drive the car, let alone figuring the car out. So I think that we ticked all the boxes, and, it's a personal thing for me, having lost so many people to various forms of cancer. My mum through breast cancer, and she went through exactly what Terri went through, copped it twice, and unfortunately didn't survive the second round. It was really, really hard for me. I was quite young at the time, and I felt at the time that the only reason she was hanging on was because she was worried about me personally.
Yeah.
Because I was quite young at the time, and like a memory that will never leave me is having, we were at that point where it was close to the end and we were on the 24-hour vigil, and my brother and, my brothers are quite old, well, quite a bit older than me. One's 22 years old, the other one's 12 years older. And my dad was, quite a lot older than me. They were all exhausted because they'd been there for so many hours, and I sent them all home, and I sat down next to Mum holding her hand and just told her, I know you're holding on for me. It's not helping you. Me watching you suffer is not helping me. So
yeah,
that was that basically. Yeah. It's till you've been through it, you've got. It just amazes me that we live in an era where we can go to Mars and we can fly to the moon, but we can't cure a disease like cancer. We'll spend billions of dollars on crap, like the NBN, and we can't figure out a way to fix this.
Yeah, I know it was a cause close to yourself as well, and that's why I know the build took it. It was a special build for yourself. I know for Andy, for Mick, and for everyone involved. And the product that's come out at the other end is
it's a work of art, mate.
It really is.
It is an absolute work of art. For those people that get the chance to see Andy, I have no doubt that car will probably be doing more shows than drag racing events, because that's where we want to be with it as well. It's to get the promotion out there.
It's going to do all the drag racing events, Mick.
Do you reckon? Only if my back can hang in now, I'm telling you. Or I can find a sponsor for electric winch. Now I got a new trailer. But we'll get there.
Okay, we'll take a short break here and we'll be back with more from Andy, Mick, Simon and Warren right after the break.
How was your day, sweetie?
Terrible. A deal that I've been working on for weeks fell apart and...
Yep. Sounds like the time the gearbox went in my patrol.
How is that the same, Terry?
If you really love cars, Auto One.
The Auto One customer loyalty program, the Auto One Club, has been designed to provide privileges to loyal customers. Head on over to www.auto1.com.au and click on the club membership tab, or alternatively head into your local Auto One store and ask about the benefits that come with being a loyal Auto One Club member. While you're in the store, be sure to check out Auto One's extensive range of Impact Automotive garage tools, floor mats and coolant. The Impact Automotive range offers quality products at affordable prices. From a 3-ton heavy-duty trolley jack to an adjustable mechanic seat, the Impact Automotive range has a garage tool that'll suit your needs. The range has also well over 20 different types of floor and boot mats to suit your ride. They come in rubber or fabric with a PVC backing to stop slipping. Also in the range is an extensive choice of coolant. Whether it be pre-mixed or concentrate, the long life range of red and green Impact Automotive coolant is bound to have a product that suits your needs. To view the full range of Impact Automotive products, head on over to www.auto1.com.au or visit one of their stores. Auto One is committed to bringing you the brands you know and trust at great prices. Coupled with their team's knowledge and experience, Auto One, it's the one.
So, Andy, tell us. We spoke briefly about this at the cancer council biggest morning tea that we had a few months ago now. But tell us a little bit more about it then. Some of the health benefits of someone suffering from cancer getting in the passenger side of the car, going down the track. Tell us about some of those inherent health benefits in doing so.
So basically, one of the good things is if you're suffering an ailment of any sort, if you can go through an adrenaline rush, it gets all the energy going in your body and basically gets everything working at its peak. And makes you feel good, makes your endorphins, brings your endorphins up, which actually make everything start running at their best. So if we put a passenger in the car and they're feeling a bit down in the dumps about either themselves going through treatment or a partner going through treatment, and they're struggling with the day-to-day. Then, they step in the car just before the start line and with a, oh, yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this. Somebody said I probably should, sort of thing. They get at the other end, they're actually fist pumping the air, going, "How that was awesome."
And I can only imagine. I've never been in a car that's gone 10-1, but I can only imagine that it would be one hell of a ride. Really, I mean,
one of the passengers that I took on Wednesday, apparently she's not stopped talking yet about it. She is still absolutely on a high. And one of the other ladies that breast cancer survivor, she was she was still buzzing and chatting a million miles an hour several days later as well.
Yeah. Channel 10, we should, they did a great story on yourself and the car.
It was a brilliant story.
And the Motorplex as well, Perth Motorplex got involved with that as well, no doubt.
Definitely, Nick, hats off to the Motorplex.
Yeah.
I mean, to get the track guys down there, they did a prep. They did a prep on one lane for us to make sure everything was safe and it was going to be sound. They had a Fiery down there. They had St. John's down there parked up nice and close. And I can imagine, as a passenger going for a ride, you see all that preparation sitting there, you start feeling a bit more comfortable. And at the end of the day, we want to go and put a smile on somebody's face, but it needs to be the safest smile we can put there too.
Yeah.
And big shout out to Dean.
Yeah, Dean Neal.
Yeah. Huge effort. Channel 10 and Dean, like, they did an amazing job. Channel 10's coverage, I thought, was excellent. They really captured it. And you could see that she was a little bit frazzled when she got out at the other end there. She needed the makeup straight away, I think.
No, it was a great story, and Channel 10 doing some great work with the track at the moment. So it's great to see that, and there was a very, very good story that you did there. Tell us a little bit about Therapy on Wheels, your website as well. You don't just talk about it's not, the focus isn't just on cancer. You talk a little bit about what you mentioned here is the black dog. Can you talk us a bit about anxiety and mental health that some races and not just races, I guess, but people these days that are facing?
Well, one of the stories on our website is about the black dog. There are a lot of people think that because we're out there racing, we're in front of the crowd, that we're talking to everyone at shows, that we don't suffer from anxiety or depression, whereas it is actually a really, really common problem amongst a lot of racers and car people. Yeah. Including one of our own crew. She does suffer pretty badly from anxiety and depression, but racing helps, and the racetrack is one of her safe places, and you see her down at the racetrack and you wouldn't know that there was an issue. She's bright and she's bubbly and she's friendly and chatting to everybody. But behind closed doors she is suffering as well. But getting out of the racetrack, it brings her out of herself, and it makes her feel a bit more confident, and it makes her feel a part of a community. And again, it comes back to that community. Yeah, we are an embracing community, and I mean, no, there's no judgment at the track, So yeah, I totally agree. Question for Warren as well, and yourself. I'll start with you, Andy. Females in motorsport, particularly in drag racing, they've been holding their own for some time. We've had a number of female racers now on the podcast. We've had Kelly Betts, we've had Emily Begley, now yourself. But it's not just in the driver's seat, is it? It's in every aspect of the sport. Females are getting heavily involved in our sport right across it. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well? Oh, absolutely. Look behind the scenes and you'll find there's female mechanics, there's females in the commentator's box, driving the tractors, in the staging lanes, doing the sign out sheets. We've got ANDRA officials that are females. It's where we are there. It's not that uncommon a sight anymore.
I've got to tell you a funny story about this. A young girl, her name escapes me. She drives a dragster. I think sometimes she runs in modified, and she runs in C dragster. I think sometimes in Supercom. And her father rang me and said, my daughter's going to drop off this torque converter. Tiny little thing, right? Dropped it off, and I just assumed she was, just dropping it off. And I said, "Who drives the drags?" And she goes, "I do." I said, "Oh, look, there's a couple of things that I wouldn't mind asking you." So I asked her the shift point, what RPM she crosses the finish line, mile an hour, ET, 60 foot, half track. Mate, she could tell me what the tappet clearance was. Most guys that I talk to don't even know if the engine's running through the... Now, Warren, I've got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Terri started kicking everyone's ass. Did the boys get upset?
Some of them were quite upset, particularly when a grandmother was beating them. And and I think the younger they were, the worse it was, because their mates they'd be on their back because they got beaten by a grandmother. If we weren't on air, I could probably tell you some better stories about that.
That's all right. I'm sure we've all got some.
Yeah.
Warren, even from your point of view, like, I mean, females these days can certainly apply their craft right through the drag racing, and not just drag racing, I guess motorsport in general, can't they?
Yes. I mean, and look, it's probably one of the few sports where they can compete quite easily on equal terms with the guys.
Yeah.
All they need is the experience. And look, I mean, it doesn't come naturally to guys either.
No.
Like if they need to be taught or shown, guys have to be taught or shown how to race as well.
Yeah.
Warren, there's a circuit racing guy that I was involved with in Sydney, and one of our customers was building him a drag car, and whenever we'd go to the track while the car was getting built, he would, always be taking the piss, about drag racing. It's 400 meters in a straight line. How hard could it be? So we're at the track. He's debuting his new car, right? We've gone through the procedure. The car was pretty simple to operate, and he's managed to not wait till it was on boost before he took off, and then after he took off, he hit the trans brake for a second time, blew the front diff out of the car, and dumped a heap of oil on the track, which then he drove over and shifted into second, and ended up doing 360s down the track. It was the last time he ever drove a drag car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I do enjoy driving the HK. I race at the street meets at Willowbank, and I've been to Benaraby a couple of times. I also take it roll racing as well, and I do like passengers at the street meets and at the roll racing, but I'm not a very good driver. As a driver, I make a pretty good crew chief, I think. I still can't pick a light for the life of me. You look for them when they're, if they're chasing you, and you look back at the finish line, and you always back off too early or not soon enough, But it's all part of the fun. I'm just pleased I can be out there doing it. That's all.
For years, Nick and I have been banging this drum about, as far as women competing one-on-one with men and having, no disadvantage, that this is arguably the only sport in the world, like we see the growth of the women's leagues, but they're women's leagues. You don't see AFL where a women's team would play a men's team. Drag racing, when you get to that start line, it's, cutting that light and having that car dialed in. Everything else is irrelevant. And if you're in a Group 1 class like Kelly Betts in top fuel, I mean, look at how many female top fuel champions there's been. That is the Formula One of drag racing. And then you compare it to Formula One, and I don't even think there's been a female competitor.
There may have been one or two over the years, but
over nearly 100 years. It's just unbelievable that the sport doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, and sad that we don't get the sponsorship that we deserve. With all these female CEOs throwing so much money at the W leagues, when we've got a sport that's been around for a long time and has shown that women are on the equal footing as men.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, the other good thing with the drag racing is, you can take your street car to the track, and whether it's I don't know what it's like over in Perth, but I mean here at Willowbank you can go to a street meet or a test and tune, and you can race a 17-second car and still win, at the street meets.
Yeah. I just want to quantify for our listeners that might not be aware. Terri won an Australian championship in Super Street. Super Street is a dial-in class, so you dial your own handicap in. So you have to be, I know Super Street's very competitive. You cannot go faster than your dial-in. You got to go above your dial-in, but as close to it as possible. And then your reaction time also needs to be, in the hundreds. I mean, basically tenths aren't really that good. Not in Super Street, really. So
no, I think you need to be an 020, 030 average to sort of, go rounds in most tracks anyway.
Yeah. And so to win, and I saw a photo, or we were watching a video earlier. You actually came to WA, I believe. I'm pretty sure you're at the Motorplex.
We did. I think that was in 2010.
Yep.
Hey, look, it's a long way over to Perth and a long way back. Terri was beaten in the first round.
Yep.
But she had I think from an 07 something light, and she ran, I don't know, 5 or 6 thousandths off a dial in and got beaten in the first round.
Yeah.
But hey, look, that's racing. I mean, that's just the way it went. He had a slightly better reaction time and run 02 over his dial in, and he beat it by, I don't know, whatever it was, 01 of a second. Which isn't a lot.
Yeah. And Super Street, you're leaving off a foot brake as well. It's no trans brake in Super Street.
You're allowed trans brake, no delay box.
Oh, delay box. All right, sorry. Okay.
I mean, look, Terri was only ever a foot brake racer as well.
Yep.
Whether that makes it harder or not, that's up to the individual. But I don't know. Some just seem to be able to pick a light, and others, just can't. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's amazing what you guys do. It really is.
Mick's smirking over there.
I don't have the reflexes for it, right? So, I shouldn't really throw too many stones because I've never actually had a crack myself. But,
don't worry, Mick. I'm in the same boat. Don't worry.
It's
I know
like,
it's not for me.
As much as when we're down on the track, it's crew chief and driver, and she cops a little bit from me down there. It's like, what's this? And, just give me a red today. Just one red, please. At least I know you tried.
Well, she delivered.
Yeah, she did. Just not in the first qualifier.
First round.
Yeah.
First round. I think Nick pulled these covers out, especially to commemorate that.
Put it this way: the 035, I was like, "We're getting there."
Yeah, look, I got to admit,
we're getting there.
I saw the qualifying result and I watched the live feed, and I'd seen her I'd worked out the seating. You know what I'm like. I'd worked out the seating, knew who she was racing, and thought, oh yeah, she's a shoo-in for this one. Yeah, no.
So Andy, look, tell us, Therapy on Wheels. That's your website. It's your charitable website. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about the work you're doing there. It's not just about the car, but tell us a bit about that website.
So Therapy on Wheels is all about raising awareness and for breast cancer. Not just for the people that are going through or the patient themselves, but for their whole family and what they're going through. So we have chosen to align ourselves with Breast Cancer Care WA, who are about less about the research for a cure and more about supporting the individual and the actual family for whatever they need. So they provide anything from babysitting, meals. They've got a bunch of support workshops at the moment for partners to help them cope with what they're going through. One of the things that I actually do is I volunteer as a driver. Not a race car driver, just a regular driver. Mm-hmm. And I take people from to their appointments, and I'll sit with them. Often I get people who it's their first time going through and they're a bit apprehensive. They don't want to talk to somebody that they know because they're worried about making them even more concerned and worried. But on the other hand, they don't want to talk to their doctor because they're scared of what the answer might be.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's nice that they can just sit in the car and have a chat and about what they're going through with somebody who's been through it.
It's interesting you say that because in the book, again, my naivety kicked in. You went through surgery?
Yes, a few.
After that was 3 months of chemo?
Yes, it was.
That was
about 3 months. Yeah.
Second week.
Yes.
then after that was, correct me if I'm wrong, 21 days of radiation.
Yep.
Day after day. No breaks.
I had Christmas Day off.
Yeah, I think I do remember reading that. So, and I think you mentioned the same, Warren. I don't think people understand the commitment to time that your spouse or partner has to have also to get you backwards and forwards every day. And that's why the work that you're doing is really important. Even as a driver, that may sound very mundane, but it is a big commitment because, people need to get backwards and forwards. I didn't realize how regular, especially the radiation part of it as well. 21 consecutive days.
And some of the chemo appointments towards the end, I was on a pretty strong chemo that I think it would take 8 hours to infuse because they had to do it really, really slowly because of the strength of it. Otherwise it'd knock me silly. So Mick would drop me off in the morning, then he would go to work, and then he would come and see me, and I'd still be sitting in the couch with the needle in my arm, and he'd come and sit with me afterwards, and he'd bring his dinner with him and that afterwards.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a long process, and it's very, very difficult on the families, and that's what people don't realise is it's the families that need that support.
Yeah, it is.
I was actually, I must say, I was pretty lucky at the time because even my employer sort of like knew the situation and granted me a fair bit of flexibility with my working hours, which was a big help. At one stage when Andy took a pretty bad turn and nearly ended up with pneumonia as well, I was going basically to work at about 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to get as much of the day done and get set up for the guys during the day shift, and then try and catch up with Andy first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So, it's good if you've got, somebody that you're working for that, allows you a bit of flexibility as well.
Yeah, most certainly. I can imagine. So yeah, that's now for people that want to go to that website, it's www.therapyonwheels.asn.au. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And for people that want to go and check out your website, Warren, it's www.mamastoyracing.com.au. There's some great content there, I must say, Warren.
There is, and Terri used to look after that website, and look, since she hasn't been here, I haven't done anything to it. And look, we have had a couple of family conversations about what to do with the website, and at this stage, I haven't really decided. Whether to learn how to do something with it or whether just to let it fold. I'm not sure what to do at this stage.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I completely understand. And I know as soon as this border opens up, you're pretty keen to get over here to Western Australia. So maybe you bring the HG with you as well. I don't know, but you would love to see you here.
Look, it is on my list next year to come over and have a look at the Merc going down the track. And look, I would dearly love to be crouching down beside the car and get a photo of me in that number plate again.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And tell us a little bit about your granddaughter as well. She races junior dragster.
She has. She's raced for a couple of years. No engine in the junior at the moment. It's had another failure. So, but this will be Caitlin's last year.
Yep.
She's 17 now. So
was it rods out? Is it an LS based engine?
No, like when they dropped the oil, it had all this metal in it. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to it, but it was only a couple of meetings old. So yeah.
All right. Yeah.
It's meant to be cheap, isn't it, Warren? It's meant to be cheap.
Well, hey, look, the Super Street is cheap when you start talking about some of the junior dragster stuff. That's for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you come over here, Warren, and make sure you let us know beforehand, and we'll have you in person on the podcast. We'd love to have you here and catch up and have a chat. It's we really enjoy your time coming on here. Now, Andy, also, don't wait for the green light. We can get that at therapyonwheels.asn.au as well.
It's available at all good online bookstores, but it's also available through my website.
Did I see right? Amazon as well?
Yeah.
As a
Amazon, it's available as an ebook through Booktopia, Goodreads, Amazon. So it's all over the place.
Yeah, no, and I please.
Yes, Jeff Bezos is making money from it.
Yes. Well, I urge everyone that if they're watching the video, please, there you go, that's better. Please go out and get a copy of that. It is an very easy to read book, and humorous, very touching. And as I said, I it's really opened my eyes to the battles that a lot of people have been through in Australia and the world, of course, yep. Now, before we finish up as well, also, my apologies, sponsors. So now, give them a shout out.
You're not allowed to, Andy. You're not allowed to.
not just let's take a step back there. Just people that help you on the journey as well. Like, not just sponsors, but like people that helped you get
We're going to be here for another hour.
No.
When it comes to people that have helped out on this project, there are many.
No. Look, I mean, I understand.
No, I think Nick was referring to the journey.
Yeah, anyone in particular, but yeah, we've got plenty of time, so no rush.
You're allowed to thank Mick now publicly.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
No, there's been a massive amount of people that have been involved, and if I start listing them, I am bound to forget.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm bound to forget somebody and upset somebody. Well, I do have to thank Simon though from All Fast Race Cars because he believed in what was a very unique build, and he had the confidence to go ahead even after he saw the car that I'd bought.
I still have nightmares about it.
And obviously I've got to thank Warren and Janine for allowing me to dedicate the car to Terri. Terri was a very big inspiration for me.
Andy, I think you need to thank my wife too.
Yes. Oh, thank you to Nicole as well for letting Simon do a lot of very
lonely nights.
For being a single mum for 3 years.
But yeah, there's we've had a lot of people give small and big donations of money, products, time, inspiration, encouragement. The list is huge.
Yeah.
Of which we've got a couple of.
We should mention that now, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you want to do it, but basically,
I'm sure you'll come up with a way of giving away some of our.
Look, we have 2 giveaways here from Andy and Mick themselves for a number of car care products. Not just car. I shouldn't use the word car care because Bowden's Own deserve much more than that. They are the premier.
It's a great product.
They are.
Good Aussie product, which we should be very proud of.
So,
and to tell you the truth, it's worth the giggle just to get a bottle or a rubbing down cloth and read the label properly. Because
that till you pointed it out to me on Facebook.
They've got some nice little ditties on their labels, and it's not one of those ones that you get out of China which says "Do not put plastic bag overhead, otherwise you will suffocate." It's much cleverer than that.
You didn't spell suffocate right.
But thanks to Bowden's, who is one of our sponsors. They've given us some products to be able to give away as well as to be able to use.
Yep.
And also we've got a bunch of stickers and a book and everything.
Ooh.
So.
Yep. So what we'll do is we'll make it so whoever likes, shares this post out on Facebook, we'll do it on Facebook. So if you like and share when this official podcast goes out, I think if we just like and share the post and I'll pick
2 people out at random, and we'll get that out to them. So we really appreciate that. Actually, that's excellent and much greatly appreciated. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone for joining in, and thanks for coming on. This has been a really special podcast, and like I said from the beginning, it was a podcast that I really wanted to do, and I know you did as well, Simon, and I know the 2 of you as well are really,
I actually think I've got more of a face for radio than TV, so it's a good thing.
Don't worry, Mick. So it's all right. It's all good. It's all right.
I see you in politics, Mick. Heard the Liberals are looking for a leader. No.
He's a bit old.
Hey, and Warren, look, thank you to yourself for coming on tonight. We really appreciate it. I know it's quite late there, and to your daughter Janine as well. Really appreciate it. I know she kind of brokered the technology. Correct me if I'm wrong.
She was here last weekend and did help me download the application and set it up on the computer. So I was appreciative of that.
Yeah. No, she's done a magnificent job. So our thanks go to Janine as well and yourself. And look, I really just would like to say I really appreciate you sharing your story and Terri's story. It's been quite touching, and we really appreciate it. And for those people that are out there, head to mamastoyracing.com.au. There is some great reads there. I enjoyed reading some of the content there as well. So I urge people, while the website is still up, to head on over there and have a look.
Look, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries. We really enjoyed it. All right. Well, thanks, guys. And episode, look, before we finish, big 100 coming up. We've got that in 2 weeks' time. So it's going to be our 100th episode. We've got that at City Motors, happening on the 13th of December. It's the gone but not forgotten holding on through time car show. So I think you guys are coming down as well for a look.
Yeah. Maybe we should have worked out whether they had an Astra Turbo down there.
Oh, but you can. Why not?
Probably don't.
I would doubt it, actually.
Take Andy's daily driver.
Yeah. James is, as we had James here 2 weeks ago, and he's really keen to curate. I think he said 171 models. So I'm sure the Astra Turbo is one of the 171. So I'll send you a link. Head to the website, register the car.
It's going to be a good show.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah. No, we're really looking forward to it.
It's really amazing that they managed to put that together. Big credit to Shannon's, great bunch of guys doing so much for the car scene in Western Australia since they've been here.
Yeah, no, they certainly are.
Looking forward to finding a HQ windowless panel van with a for sale sign on it.
You figure she's got her car now, it's your turn. Good luck with that one, mate. Good luck.
Merc for sale. Merc for sale.
All right, look, thanks, Andy. Just one more time, therapyonwheels.asn.au. Is any other, we can find you, Andy Kahle as well, the design.
andyk.com.au.
Yep, Andy K. Yep, that's where I got the torque and power. Look at that up there. Looks great. We've
Facebook.
Yep.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah,
just search Andy K and I come up all over the place.
Yep, for all your graphic design as well. Look, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing your story. Thanks, Warren. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Mick.
Thank you.
Take care, Warren.
Okay.
Talk and Power, your motorsport and motoring radio show. Now on 88.5 FM, The Valley Comes Alive. And podcasting across iTunes and talkandpower.com.au.